Hi everybody, it's Alexa here, and I'm here to show you my August to be read pile. July really didn't work out the way that I expected it to. I know it's terrible, right? So July's pile, as I said, was kind of a big failure. I did read some things, but they were things that weren't really on the pile, which I guess that's kind of why I stopped doing to be read piles at the beginning of 2014 and didn't really start doing them until last month, just because I always seem to pull out the books that I think I'm going to want to read, and I tend to be one of those mood readers who doesn't really want to stick to the plan. I'm a very organized person, type A, in my entire life, and I like everything to be very structured, but I guess the one thing that I don't like to be very structured is what I'm reading. It tends to make me a little bit bored or not want to read what I picked out. So these are books from last month's pile that I didn't read, but I'm not going to try and read those in August. I feel like maybe some of the picks that I had in July were not the right ones for me at the time. So I'm trying to narrow down my scope a little bit for August here. There's some readathons I hope to participate in August. It is my birthday, and I have my birthday off of work next week. So I'm hoping to maybe have a little bit of me time in August to get some stuff done, especially now that I'm no longer in the training phase of my job. I've gone from working 4 days a week at my job to working only 3 days a week for the same amount of hours at my job. So hopefully I'll have some more time to myself now to read. So a book that was on last month's pile, which is still on the pile for this month of August, is Cress. As you can see, I did kind of start this one. Ooh, I'm all of like 30 pages into it. And I really need to get back into it because I love this series. And I want to know more about Cress. And I want to know more about what's happening with the rest of the gang. So I need to continue on with this. Also, that was on the pile in July, and I'm still keeping it on the pile for August, is The Beautiful Ashes, because I really love this author and I really, really want to love this and read it because it was one of my highly anticipated books from ALA. So hopefully it will work out this month, that I'll actually make time to read it. And another book that was on the pile last month that I hope to get to this month is Beautiful Oblivion. I didn't love the first book in this series, or I guess the first two books, even though they're of the same storyline. But people said this one has a slightly different vibe to it, and the brother in this one, Trenton, is a little bit different. So I'm hoping for, I don't know, a more mature brother this time, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Some new additions to the pile in August that were not part of July's pile, but that I'm kind of switching into August's pile to make my reading a little bit different, is Sublime, which is by Christina Lauren, who is the kind of duo authors. One's named Christina, one's named Lauren. They write adult steamy romance, so I thought it was really interesting that they decided to write a teen book, and I really want to see if this one is going to hold up. I always think it's interesting for some reason when adult romance authors decide that they want to become YA authors. It tends to make for YA that's a little bit more mature or has a little bit more themes in it than a lot of other YA would. So I'm interested in that. Next up on the pile is The Iron Daughter. I listened to The Iron King on audio and I did like the story. I felt like the first half of The Iron King was a little bit annoying. Megan kind of had an attitude about everything, and I felt like Julie Kagawa was kind of leading you through this maze of having to meet a bunch of mythical creatures without really getting somewhere until the second half of the book. So now that I know about the world of Never Never, now that I know all the creatures in it, and I understand the 2 fairy courts and the 3rd fairy court that's in there, I'm hoping now that I know a lot of the background of the story and the plot and the area and the magic, that I can easily transition into reading this one and enjoying it without kind of all that stuff that kind of weighed down the first book. Next up is Where She Went. I read If I Stay in July. It wasn't on my to be read pile, but it was one that I kind of just threw in there because the movie is coming out in August for If I Stay, and I wanted to read the book before the movie, of course. So I read If I Stay for the first time, and oh dear. I loved it. It was an amazing book, and it was a short read, but it was a very amazing read, and it was really different than a lot of other teen books that I've been reading recently, and I feel like Gail Forman has something maybe special to offer. And of course, I'm heartbroken from the first book and some of the decisions that were made and things that happened. So this book, from what I understand, is supposed to take place 3 years later, and it's supposed to be basically where Adam gets more of his storyline told, and he gets to try and get the girl back. So yeah, Mia, you need Adam in your life, okay? We all need Adam in our life. That's what I struggled with in the first book. I wanted to know more about Adam, and hopefully with the second book being more, I think, told in Adam's perspective or featuring Adam more, I will get what I was slightly missing in the first book. Next up is a book that I wanted to read in July after I made my video for my July pile. It's another one of the books that I was highly anticipating to get from ALA. It's Black Ice. This just sounds like it's romance, and it's a thriller, and it's contemporary, and I don't know. It's just a whole mix of genres, and it just sounds really different. It sounds different than a lot of the teen books that are currently out there, and so of course I want to read it. And I like Becca Fitzpatrick's Hush Hush series, so because I like Hush Hush, I'm kind of hoping I like Black Ice, her slightly different literary, whatever you want to call it. Right now I'm also currently reading The Iron Legends. This is the short story novella collection I'll put in one book. The book that I'm reading now is Winter's Passage, which is book 1.5. It's the novella between book 1 and book 2, and since I want to read The Iron Daughter in August, I wanted to read the story that bridges from The Iron King to The Iron Daughter, because it sounds like there are some things that definitely happen in the bridge between book 1 and book 2, and you have to read the novella in order to maybe understand that bridge, so I wanted to read the novella. I probably won't get around to reading the entire Iron Legends novella series, because the next novella is Summer's Crossing, which I believe is between books 2 and 3, and then I think the last novella in here is like book 4.5, like to branch it from being Megan's story into her brother's story. So I'm not planning on finishing the entire Iron Fae series this month, so I'm not gonna get through this. Plus this is a library book, so I kind of just got it for the in-between book 1 and book 2 novella. That way I didn't have to pay a couple bucks for a little novella of 60 pages. Another book that I'm going to try and read this month is The Devil Wears Plaid. I really like this author. She is a great historical romance author, and this is actually the book. I always have Stephanie from Once Upon a Chapter pick out a book for me to read, 1 or 2 books a month usually, so that I can review them on her blog, and kind of help her out a little bit, and I love her blog. She recently redesigned it, and oh my god. Sometimes I just think that I will shut down my own blog, and Bianca and I will switch over and go join Stephanie on her blog, and we'll all just live in one big happy book family. But until that happens, maybe it will never happen, but until that day happens, I'm reading some books on the side kind of for her blog. So if you're looking for a review coming up of this one, once I read it, it will get posted on her blog, Once Upon a Chapter, not here on Pages of Forbidden Love. But this is what she picked for me this month, so I hope I like it. Also, I did a little bit of like a project, if you will. It seems like everybody lately has been doing to be read jars. Unfortunately, I have a lot of books that have yet to be read. So I thought, instead of doing a to be read jar and having to type up all the names and authors of all the books that I have on my shelf to be read, I would do a genre to be read jar. Let me explain. I decided to type up some common things like YA contemporary, adult contemporary, teen fantasy, teen sci-fi, anything like that. Cut it up and put it on little slips of paper in here so that I have different genres, both adult and YA. I also did first in a series and next book in a series of both YA and adult, So all of those papers are all caught up and mixed up in here. So at any point in time, I could pull something out of the genre to be read jar and then pick something that I feel goes with it. So very heavy glass jar. So if I pick something out of here, you know, now let's get this one. Okay, let's see. So this one says, it's kind of hard probably to read with the glare of the lights in here, but it is adult fantasy. So now I get to pick out an adult fantasy book and add that to my to be read pile. I don't know what I'll pick next. I'll probably pick an urban fantasy adult book, actually, because I own a lot of those and I really want to get around to reading more urban fantasy again. So I will probably pick an adult urban fantasy soon and add it on to my to be read pile. So until now, that is all the books that I hope to read this month. Let's see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this one will make 9. So hopefully I'll be able to read 9 books this month, and with the 2 readathons or so that I'm planning on being part of, hopefully I will encourage myself to read. So that is everything that I'm going to be reading in the month of August, and of course, as always, you know me, my tastes change in the middle of the month, and this pile could look completely different in 2 days from now. But it's what I hope to read in the month of August. So if you have a to be read pile video, go ahead and let me know and link me up or leave me a comment somewhere, and I will hopefully come check it out and see what you're reading this month, and maybe, you know, steal one of your book ideas of the month and add it onto my pile if I own the book. So that's everything for now, guys. Have a great month of August. Bye!